Hello everyone and welcome back to a new video. So in this video I'm going to compare the two iPads that I've had this far in my life and just show you like my experience and what I think about them and which I think is maybe the best one for a student. So let's start with the look and the design of the iPad. So I guess most of you have already seen these two iPads, and if you have not, here they are. On the one hand we have the iPad Air 4 in space gray, which I got a few months ago, and this iPad is especially popular because it looks a lot like the iPad Pro series. So it's the first more budget iPad which looks like a Pro, so you know the Pro is very expensive, and this one is still more expensive than the other iPad, but it is still cheaper than an iPad Pro. And as you can see, it looks very minimal, very modern, and it looks exactly like the iPad Pro 2018 edition, which is perfectly fine for me, and I just love the whole design. And then on the other hand we have the more budget, more like student intended iPad, which is the iPad in the 6th generation, which came out in 2018. There's already a version for 2020, but this one is mainly like bigger and stuff, so it is basically still the same iPad, which is why I think comparing this one to the iPad Air 4 is still worth it. And as you can see, it's a pretty similar design. This one I got in silver, so it's not the exact same color, and the camera looks different. The camera in the Air is of course a little bit better, but that's not a problem for me because as a student I don't really take pictures with my iPad, so the camera wasn't an issue for me and I didn't buy it because of the camera. But that's just something you can keep in mind if you use it for something else. But as a student, the camera is no point in why you should buy one or another. And these were both tablets from the back, and now you can see them from the front next to each other. So the Air, as you can see, has way thinner borders and doesn't have a home button anymore, which the 6th generation still has, and that's just preference for everyone. So do you prefer a home button or not? So as I bought the 6th generation, I wanted to have a home button. That's why it was perfect at that time for me. But now I really want more space to write my notes because I'm a student, and that's the main purpose of my iPad, and that's why I think this one is more practical. Now off to the next point, which is the Apple Pencil, and which might be a big point for every one of you because it's a big thing for a student, because I use this iPad mostly for note taking, so the pencil is also very important. And with the iPad Air 4 came the compatibility to the new Apple Pencil 2nd generation, and what's cool about this is, as you already saw, it clicks magnetically to the iPad, and so that's the way it charges. You don't have to charge the pencil itself, you can charge both at the same time, and that's something new to the other iPad. Because with the normal iPad you still have to use the Apple Pencil in the 1st generation, and this one, as you can see right here, first of all looks a little different, but it functions just as good as the other one does. The main difference is just a little bit the look and also the way you charge it. So you are not able to magnetically click it onto the iPad, you have to stick it into your iPad, and that's the way it charges. So that can be a little bit inconvenient since sometimes you want to charge both of them at the same time. You can still do that. There's an adapter with the Apple Pencil and you can charge it with another charging cable, but that's something that most people don't do. Most do it like this, but that can be also a little bit unpractical because you know, the pen just sticking out the iPad can be something, I don't know, that might lead to you breaking it, or it's just inconvenient. You saw it yourself. But one thing I wanted to mention here is that you can also, if you have an iPhone, you can charge your Apple Pencil also with your phone. That's something I think not a lot of people know. It's when you want to charge both things and you're at uni or something and you want to charge your Apple Pencil and your iPad, that's something you can do, which is really easy because the Apple Pencil also doesn't need that much like charging, so it's not like it is stealing anything from your phone. Now off to the main looks of these two Apple Pencils. So first the second generation Apple Pencil. So as you can see, this one is very matte, and it's smaller than the other one, and it has one straight side. So on this side the pencil clicks to the iPad, and it just has, because it is not so slippery, it has way more grip to it. So I use this even without a cover, and I like it very much. It is perfect for note taking, and I have to say I prefer this one more over the first generation. But now here we have the first generation Apple Pencil, and as you can see, it's way more shimmery and shiny, and it's very, very slippery because of that. And I just fixed it with having this cover on my Apple Pencil, because this way it just functions as fine as the other one does. It's really just personal preference, but both work just fine. And you can just take a cover from a regular ball pen that you have laying around, so you don't even have to buy something fancy or expensive, and that just worked for me. And yeah, these were the two pencils. Here you can see them next to each other. You can see that the left one is way more shiny, way more slippery, and also a little bit bigger, which is nothing that is concerning, but it is just something that I wanted to say because it's a fact. Now for the next thing, we have the speed of these two iPads, and if you are into technology, you might already know that the new iPad Air is also supposedly faster than the other iPad, and I have to say I didn't notice any speed differences. So I think you really have to do something that is really, I don't know, consuming of the iPad, or have to be really paying attention to that, because as I have them laying next to each other, I can tell that the other one, so the iPad Air, is a lot faster than my old iPad. But when you're just using them, you don't have this comparison, and then you won't notice it at all. So I never had the problem with my old iPad that it was ever slow, and I used it from 2018 until this year, so 2021, so almost 3 years, and it was never slow. And as you can see, for an iPad that is 3 years old, it's still pretty fast, so that's not a problem at all for me. But another thing that I wanted to show you right now is the difference in locking your iPad. So the old iPad, as you can see, still has the home button in which you have your fingerprint sensor, but with the new iPad comes a new fingerprint sensor. So it is on the top, where you also have a button on the other iPad, but there's the fingerprint, and actually it doesn't bother either way. It's just something that is different, but I like both ways. It's just, again, personal preference. Do you like a home button? If yes, then the other iPad is more for you. And now we're getting to the size of the two iPads, which was actually like the main point why I even decided to upgrade. Because I use my iPad almost every single day, because I take it for note taking, for lectures, for reading, for everything that is included with uni, and also some with my Instagram and art stuff. I also like to draw on my iPad, and so I wanted to have more space, because I think the normal iPad is great. The screen is also great for watching series and doing stuff and that, but because I use my iPad mainly in split screen, as you can see, there's a big difference. It might not look at the video this way. I tried to do, while filming this, I wanted to show you the real difference, and as you can see, there is still a very big difference. Like when you are writing, that's a really, really big difference. And I noticed that since I have my new iPad Air, that it is way easier for me to take notes. So I guess for every student that could be a really big thing, but it depends. Are you using your iPad in split screen or not? If you don't use it in split screen, then that isn't even an issue. Now to the display gap. If you don't really know what this is, don't worry, I will explain it to you. So the new iPad Air 4 has a laminated display, which means there's no gap between the display and your pencil. So with the old iPad, there is still a gap. Can you see it? Like there's this teeny tiny space between the pencil and what you are writing. And also you can see it on the side, this black thing. It's because like there's still glass between the display and your pen. But as you can see, that is not the case with the iPad Air. And here I have to say, this should be your least concerning thing when you decide which iPad you want to choose, because it is something that you notice when you switch from one to the other. But if you're using one for a longer time, you just get used to it and you don't even notice it. Now for the last point, we have storage, which might be the biggest point for all of you out there who are wondering like, which iPad should I get? Is there enough storage for me? And blah blah blah. And I really get your concern. But if you're really just a student who wants to take notes and who maybe also has a laptop where you can do like uni work, like where you have programs, because I have to say iPads are not good if you have to use like programs for science and stuff. You mostly need a laptop anyway. So the storage shouldn't be a problem at all. So at least for me, this is my experience. As I mentioned, I have used my old iPad for almost 3 years and I've had it in the version with 32 gigabytes. And as you can see, I haven't even used all of that. I have used 23 gigabytes out of 32, and that's not a lot. You can also see that the main storage is just GoodNotes, which has 8 GB because it is my note-taking app, and it is 3 years of uni, which is just 8 GB. So if you don't really have to store that much besides your notes, you're totally fine even with 32. Now for my iPad Air, I have the 64 GB version because there's not even one with less storage, and I've used 34 GB, which is mainly because I think on this one I have some backups stored for iCloud, so it is still mainly GoodNotes, and here I also used a lot of storage with Procreate, but it is still like around half of the storage. And I'm showing you this because a lot of students are worried that not even the 64 GB version is enough. And if you're really just a student who is having like some documents, maybe some pictures, and mainly using it for uni, then storage will not be an issue. At least this is my experience. Now that's it for this video, and here I've just written down like the main things in this video and like the main things that you should keep in mind when you're deciding whether you should get the budget iPad or the iPad Air 4. And don't mind the price, it's just to give you a range because I didn't want it to add the currency, because I am personally not from the US, I am from Europe, and so it just changes within each country, and so it's just like the range, so that you can see the iPad Air is still a lot more expensive than the budget iPad. But yeah, other than that, it's just very simple written down. So with the speed that the iPad Air is faster, it has no display gap, it has the 2nd gen pencil, and both lock with the fingerprint, and also the storage options are bigger for the iPad Air 4. These are just the storage options which are the smallest ones. There are still bigger ones for both of them, but I just wrote you down what I have, and yeah, like the smallest ones with the matching prices. And yeah, that's it for this video. I hope you liked it. If you did, then maybe give a thumbs up or leave a comment. I would like to know what you think and what iPad you would like to get. And yeah, I will see you. Bye!